Crazy, man. So what caused you to transition from being just drinking wine on that level to actually taking that step forward? Like, hey, I want to start my own wine brand.
It was actually, I was reading the trends. So a couple of years ago, an article came out, and of course, it's about millennials. And so I was checking it out, and it was just talking about all the trends that we are denouncing and things we're starting to do and how we're hurting retail business and changing everything. And so I'm like, all right, cool. I'm scrolling along, and I come across beer. And I wasn't a heavy beer drinker. I've tried Heineken. I thought that was disgusting. I tried Bud Light. I thought that was disgusting.
Oh, yeah, that's that old.
And of course, I started drinking Corona. And then as I got like a little bit more refined my beer, I was like, oh, Corona sucks. And then I started drinking a Stella. And now I'm into craft beer. So now I'm like, okay, I'm buying different types of beer. And then right along there, it was like, hey, millennials are killing the beer business. I'm like, I'm killing 10 Coronas a day sometimes. Like, we having fun during the summer. And It was just like the amount of sales that were going down because wine sales were picking up with young adults.
Facts, yeah.
And it was picking up to a pace that it was going to outpace. And it was like within like a couple of years. And so, this year I was kind of talking to my boys, trying to figure out what we can do together. And, a couple of life things happened, so they couldn't jump in at the time. And one thing I saw was that wine subscriptions were going up. All these companies were figuring out, let's do wine subscriptions. And then the wineries started getting into direct shipping to people because of the pandemic. And so I started researching. I was like, okay, what do I need to start my own wine company? I was like, okay, who do I need to reach out to? What wineries actually work with you? Because, you got to have certain wineries can't do it just because of legalities. They don't want to cover the liquor license and all that. So I kind of started looking around the country. Unfortunately, you can't do anything international. Unfortunately, that was like the big hit to me. I was hoping I could work with them, but popped right up. I can go right to California and I can just start working with some wineries out there.
Right.
So it was like really easy, and it was like, okay. And I had to figure out what term it's called, and it was like, oh, you got to be private label wine. And so I found a winery that actually worked for a private label, and I did my research. One of the biggest things that popped up was that how you can actually order. Some companies want you to order by the pallet, which that can cost like $13,000 minimum.
I'm gonna say that's a lot. It's a lot of money on the pallets, man.
And you're like, yo, $13,000, and so you got to think about it. And then other one I found worked by the case. So we're trying to figure out which one is better for starting up. And so I went by the case. It was much more feasible for me, kind of get started, and you didn't have to put out as much money. Still had to put out some money, but it wasn't much putting out $13 and you only get one bottle. Because I think I was looking at the beginning, it was like, well, if I wanted to do 6 bottles, I'll probably been in the hole around $56,000. I'm like, that's student loan money right there.
Oh yeah, it is.
And so that's how I kind of did my research and kind of like jumped into it. I was like, well, better late than never. Let me just start doing it. So I did test the wines. I did about 7 wine tastings just to see what was the best types. I started out with 8. I ended up with 6 wines total, just because I had a Merlot. I like that to call that. That's the hard night Merlot, because you drink that means you had a rough day at work, you had a rough life, and you drinking that's just somebody coming over your house. Oh, I need to have a drink with you. And a lot of people didn't like that one. So I was like, okay, that's great. So I was kind of whittled down. Then I had a Cabernet. I tried that and I was doing a mixture. I was like, yo, this Cabernet sucks. And then after coming down, I hit my 6 wines. And I'm like, great, this is a great starting point for myself.